You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited because I have Raquel Wilson on the line, and Raquel is here to talk to us about stewardship. And before we jump right in, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what is stewardship? So Raquel, what is stewardship?
Taking good care of what we have been given. We've been given our lovely bodies. We've been given our lovely surroundings. And even though they may be a little funny acting sometimes, we've been given these institutions around us. So I really like to talk about stewardship from an internal to external, individual to institutional way.
Awesome. And I couldn't have said it better myself. So let's hop right in. Let's start with internal. Let's start in and work our way out. So when we're talking about internal stewardship, what do we mean by that?
Yes. Well, when we think about internal stewardship, I always like to think about my interfaith background, my preacher's kid background. Thank God for church healing. But I always like to think about our body being a temple, right? So how can we treat our bodies well? How can we give our bodies the vitamins and minerals that are not only good for ourselves, but good for our beauties? Hello, ladies, right? And not in a vain sense, but how can we do what makes us feel good so we can then do more good for others? I personally believe that we all have value, and with everyone being created with value, we have the opportunity to engage in value exchange, right? So of course, if we're talking about value exchange, let's talk about change. Let's talk about money. How can we steward our money? A lot of folks know me as the personal finance educator, especially from our personal finance series, the Black Wealth Freedom series, which has now reached 7 countries and 2,000 plus readers. Thank you. If I had like a bomb sound, I dropped that. Exactly. Because I feel like when you have holistic, relevant education, it empowers you to do good for yourself and others. And that's what the series has done. That's the way that I teach holistic personal finance and the 4 pillars of wealth, so we can steward our personal finances, the finances we decide to give to our local charities or churches, as well as how we engage with the ecosystems and institutions around us.
Yes. And you just it seems like you summed it all up in a nutshell, because we talked about internal, we talked about money steward, being a good steward over your money. You talked about being a good steward over your institutions that you support or are involved in, and so on and so forth. So I'm like, you kind of hit on all of them. So let's talk about those 4 pillars that you just mentioned, because when you said that, I said, wait a minute, what's that?
I love being asked about the 4 pillars of wealth building because it comes from what I talk about in the Black Wealth Freedom series. So let's get into it. Number 1, healthy money mindset. We all have had experience with money growing up, even as adults. Hello to those that recently got laid off. These things impact our money mindset. I remember growing up hearing a lot about, we ain't got McDonald's money for that. So I had to heal from a scarcity mindset. So we have to have a healthy money mindset, not only in the beginning of our wealth journey, but also throughout. Number 2, value-based budgeting. It's one thing to budget. You can find that information on Google, 30, 70, there's so many different ways to balance your budget. Even the 30, 50, 20 method is very popular, for example. But I like to say, take it a step further. Go from good to great by actually including your values in your budgeting. So if you value family, do you actually see funds being allocated towards this family value? If you value education, do you actually see funds and time being allocated to this education value? So not only can this be applied to, say, for example, your budget, but also your calendar. Number 3, upskilling for higher earned income. There's a really interesting fact I saw. Dell did some research recently, and they said that over 75% of jobs that will be available in 2030 are not even available yet. They haven't even been created. So we have to continue to upskill. We have to be open to learning more about things that might scare us, like artificial intelligence or machine learning, or even other areas of high impact and high income, as I like to say, for the future. And pillar number 4, I like to say these are pillars because they are all connected and there also is an order. So pillar number 4 is investing for wealth creation. Once you've worked on the healthy skills of a healthy money mindset, once you've built in the sustainable practices of value-based budgeting, and once you've built in the desire and practices to upskill for higher earned income, now you have the perfect environment to actually invest for wealth creation, whether that is in the stock market, index funds, ETFs, whether that's in real estate, or even whether it's in your own business. These 4 pillars of wealth building that I talk about in the Black Wealth Freedom series and even show a little bit throughout our upcoming app are really the key for us first generation wealth builders to do it and build wealth for our last names.
Yes, I love that, all 4 of those pillars. And I really wanted to dive into number 3, which was the upskilling, because that is like, whether you're a business owner or you're working working for someone, it still applies. Because when you said that, I thought about how I was, for so long, I was scared of SEO. I didn't want to touch SEO. I didn't know what SEO was, like, what is going on. And then when I finally started learning it and upskilling, then I'm like, oh, this is not too bad. And so now it's a huge part of my business, but it wouldn't have gotten there had I not taken that first step.
Absolutely. It's all about recognizing the value we have and then the steps we need to take, right? And obviously, this is a business example, and you highlighted that upskilling is not just about the values and skills that are relevant to you as a person. It's also about your business opportunities. I saw another statistic, I can't remember the source, but they mentioned that of young Black professionals, like over 70% of us want to start our own business or be entrepreneurs. So it's helpful for us to consider how can we upskill to build our professional life, because our job is our first investor, but also how we can build skills for our business that are relevant in the entrepreneurial endeavors we'd like to engage in.
You mentioned that you help people with this type of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how people can get in contact with you if they wanted to?
Absolutely. Well, I serve as a CEO, a consultant, and a keynote speaker for corporate teams and nonprofit teams. We really focus on productivity, on team communication, and on personal finance, because we know when folks are financially well, they can exist with excitement and engagement in their workplaces and membership organizations. So for those that are looking to bring that extra spark to their team, to get the professional development they would actually be excited about and can leverage, or want to make sure those end of year goals are actually getting accomplished, allow me to bring some new strategies to your team. You can email us at admin@raquelwilson.com, or if it's more difficult to spell my name, you can reach out to our business email at info@forourlastnames.io.
Yes. And Raquel, listen, when you just were saying that, I said this ties in perfectly to why we started here, because it sounds like you help people be a good steward.
Yes, I do. Yes, and I would say I appreciate you saying that. Yes, I do. And not only do I have the opportunity to do that, but most importantly, I'm able to create products and systems that help people do it on their own, which brings me to the For Our Last Names app. I'm so excited about it. I know before we started recording here, I was telling you a little bit about our internship program and how we just closed out an amazing summer of 8 amazing interns. But what that means beyond the technology is we are not only able to empower first generation wealth builders on the internal side with our teams, which is important for CEOs and education professionals and executives to think about empowering our teams and creating systems for that. But what's important for your listeners to know is that our waitlist is opening, and this app will be available very, very, very soon. So all I've got to say, because I don't know when they'll see this, is to go to the For Our Last Names website. If you want to know how to build generational wealth for your last name, they've got something special for you.
Oh, I love that. For our last names. Hello. So I will make sure I have all of those links in the show notes and all that information for you all. So that way you can check it out, because it sounds pretty cool. And I know I want to get on the wait list. So yeah, let me know. But thank you so much.
We've got a spot for you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Raquel, for dropping these gems on the podcast today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Live in abundance, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.